Hello everyone, welcome to another video and welcome to Assetto Corsa Competizione version 1.8. We're checking out the new build where apparently there's been a whole host of changes to the chassis of the vehicles, the force feedback, the tyre model, the graphics settings. Now apparently it runs on a potato. Well, not quite, but it runs a lot better than it used to. Well, I'm going to do some testing. We're going to test it with the new features turned off, the new features turned on, and give you some real world triple 1440 numbers. We're going to take out the new BMW M4 for a spin around one of my favourite tracks. And then we're going to decide whether this new update has made me want to get back into ACC. Now, before we jump into the sim, I wanted to do some testing to see if the claims by Kunos were correct, that we're going to get an increase in performance with the new DLSS and the FSR features in the graphics options. So, I did a couple of benchmarks. One lap at Monza on a packed sim grid race, lap 1. So, without DLSS or FSR enabled, we got 47.6 minimum frame rate, maximum frame rate was 67.2, and the average frame rate was 59.6. With DLSS enabled, our minimum frame rate was 67.8, our maximum was 90.4, and the average frame rate was 81.8. And with the AMD FSR enabled, the minimum frame rate was 69.4, the maximum was 98.2, and the average was 86.3. Quite conclusive. So here we are then at Imola. Why not? It's one of the best circuits on any simulator. And we're in the brand new BMW M4 GT3. So in the top right, you can see, I've left the data on there for you. So you can see the GPU usage and temperature, CPU usage and temperature, and also the current frames per second. So you can see that it's sitting at 115, 116 on pit lane on epic settings, triple 1440. That's incredible. We're using the NVIDIA DLSS. I have tried the AMD FX, and although that performs a little bit better, I just think the DLSS looks a little bit better. So, I did do some testing earlier on just to make sure that everything was working as it should be. I wasn't in the BMW. And I can tell you that the force feedback for me feels, it's like it's transformed. Feels incredible. Now the frequency's been updated to 400 hertz, which means that hertz, can't remember now, but it's been updated to 400 hertz / megahertz, whatever it is. Well, that means that the higher the frequency, the more fidelity that you're going to get, the more detail you're going to get. And it's not only the force feedback that's been updated or upgraded to 400 hertz. There's other parts of the chassis, I believe, that have also been updated. So you are going to feel a lot more detail. And from the testing that I've done, it definitely feels, like night and day better. I would go as far as to say that now this feels better than any force feedback that I've ever felt on a simulator. Who would have thought that I would have ever said that about ACC? But yeah, it feels incredible. Feels really, really good. As you can see, it's buttery smooth. Hopefully, well, you're probably only watching this 60 frames per second. But right now we're at 100, just over 100. Absolutely fine. Yes, I know that I'm on track on my own. There are no other cars. But from the test that we did, the 3 tests that we did, with on a replay, exactly the same settings, the packed grid at Monza, then those frame rates, the average frame rates that we got there, were well within acceptable limits, for me anyway, especially running triple 1440 screens on epic settings. ACC has always looked amazing, really has always looked amazing. but unless you had a supercomputer, it always ran like a pig. Now, from what I've read, I don't think it's made a massive difference to those guys in VR, the DLSS, but for us on a screen, it's made a huge difference. Those of us lucky enough to have an RTX card. You've got to keep in mind as well what system I'm running now. So I'm running an i9 10900K and a 3090. So I am running a pretty beefy computer, but I'm recording this as well at quite a high bit rate. So you've got to take that into consideration as well. So if I wasn't recording, you could probably add a few more frames per second onto that number. So what do I think of the car then? Well, I'm not really that excited about a new car. I'm more excited about ACC get the update tyre model. I always thought that it was weird, the old tyre model, how you kind of lost grip mid-corner, on the slow corners. Grip just seemed to vanish. Whereas now, the force feedback is communicating that properly. And I don't feel like it's a sudden loss of grip. That's not about the car, that's about the force feedback again. Sorry, I went back on myself a little bit there. The car, it sounds much better than the one in iRacing. It actually sounds quite nice. Drives really nice and balanced and really stable, really predictable, as you would expect from, a front engine car. It is a front engine car, isn't it? It hasn't been moved back a little bit, has it? I think it's just where it was when it was built. I know some race cars, they drop them down and move them back under the firewall. But it feels really, really balanced. Feels really nice. It's going to be, obviously, it's going to be really popular on ACC. And rightly so as well. Feels really good. The dashboard's familiar because obviously I've driven it quite a bit on iRacing, but it's a really nice, clear dashboard. Got all the information on there that you want. The only thing I'm disappointed about, really, in the new build, or a couple of things actually, is the mirror resolution still isn't quite there for me. Obviously, I've upped the mirror resolution, but I've still got the draw distance to 120 meters, which is enough for cars that are behind you. But if you look at the mirror when you're driving, things just vanish out of view, and it just kind of ruins the immersion a little bit. And it's a bit of a trade-off. If you want a higher resolution, you've got to lower the distance. A couple of 100 meters you can get away with, but 120 meters, things just vanish off the mirror. It doesn't look great. Same with the in-car mirror that I've got. The side mirrors don't look too bad. Just that one in the car that looks a bit nashy, really. So that's one thing that I would have hoped that they would have updated. Another thing is the UI and the inability to move it wherever you want. And I don't suppose it's a problem for the majority of people. Got a big stutter there. But for the likes of me and other content creators out there, it would be nice to be able to move the UI to a place where you can position your webcam, or you can position other overlays or alerts, or just nice to be able to move things around just to get the screen looking as you want it. But again, that's just a subjective gripe, that, and that's not gonna be the case for everybody at all. But will it draw me back to ACC, all these updates? Well, I'm not sure. I still need to do some more testing, more driving. One thing I have done which makes it feel a little bit better, I've just adjusted very slightly the lock to horizon number. I think I've set that to 15%. And it just makes things a little less bumpy, a little less stressful on the eyes. I don't know what it looks like for you guys watching this back. The dash is probably jumping all over the place. Oh, understeer there. See, we lost the front end grip there, but I could feel it coming. I knew I was going to lose the front end grip. Which I don't mind. If I lose front end grip, then that's on me. That's my problem. But if you know it's coming, it's not too bad. And that was always lacking with the... before the update, before the 1.8 update with the improved force feedback. But it runs well, it runs nice. The new M4 drives beautifully, really does drive nice. And I know a lot of people, when they go to a pit stop in ACC, they change the view, which is a bit of a cheat. There we go. Don't need to change the view. So there we go, right? What do we think? So has version 1.8 of ACC sparked my attention once more? Absolutely, 100%, no question. The force feedback has done it for me, really. The car just feels alive now. I just feel what the car's doing. It just needed something, and I think that was what was missing. And obviously it runs better now, so I'm more likely to jump in and play it. So if you haven't already, download the new update for ACC. I guarantee you'll be pleasantly surprised. Everything seems pretty perfect, to be honest. As always, thank you for watching. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of it, by the way. Hopefully see you on track on ACC in the near future. Cheers.